Tony Gilroy wants all of your tears, and we're going to get into why. The man is out to make you cry with Andor Season 2. So we're going to get into that. So welcome, everybody, to TRB. Yep, it's the Resistance broadcast, and we're here to talk about Star Wars, of course. What's on the horizon? It's Andor Season 2. That's going to consume the bulk of Resistance Report because we have several interviews that Tony Gilroy, the showrunner, creator, co-writer, pseudo-director, has conducted about this upcoming season, the final season of Andor, marking the end of Diego Luna's run as Cassian Andor, and it sounds like it's going to be devastating. Probably with a sprinkle of hope at the end, of course. Lacey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited that things are ramping up with Star Wars. You know, we're pretty much a month out from going to Japan, which is wild to think. It really came quickly that we're going to across the world to celebrate Star Wars. We just ordered some fun swag and giveaway for Japan, so stay tuned for those. That announcement when we get this stuff in, because we don't want to announce it before we have it. Right. You guys have been getting really awesome merch to rep us in Japan, which is exciting. There's just a lot of stuff going on. We appreciate it.
Yes. Do we have that image available for the people on YouTube, Lacey? They can head over to, there it is. That's why she is the best. TRBpodcast.com is where you want to go. We have our limited run of the Resistance broadcast Tokyo collection. So you have the new TRB logo with Japan lettering in place of Arabesh on the bottom row. And that comes on a t-shirt, comes in a side bag thing. I don't know what that's
crossbody bag.
Yep. Crossbody bag sounds like a wrestling move. And then the pullover, sort of
the packable windbreaker rain jacket.
Windbreaker thing. Yeah, so check that out, trbpodcast.com. So a lot of people already grabbed stuff and posted that they have it. It looks awesome. Can't wait to get mine. And thank you, everybody. So we hope to see a lot of TRB out there in Japan, and more to come from us, because as Lacey said, we do have some, little things we'll be giving away out there, and we may even do some little fun games as to how you can get some of that stuff. So stay tuned for that if you are going to Japan. And then Andor arrives April 22nd, which means the K2S show, our show covering all 4 weeks of Andor Season 2, will debut the following day, April 23rd, 8:30 East on youtube.com/@TRBpodcasts. Going live again, post-Japan. No better way to ditch jet lag than bringing back a live TRB
Be more
show.
Exhausted.
Yeah, so that's coming back. K2S show, stay tuned for that. And we are excited to talk about Andor when it comes out, but we are also excited to talk about Andor today. But before we get into that, Lacey, we don't need to do the other plugs. They know where to find the podcasts. But if you want to break the fourth wall when it comes to Disney rides, and you want to check out how the sauce is made with the Millennium Falcon, they released over at the Walt Disney Imagineering YouTube channel the engineering and everything that goes into creating Smuggler's Run. And that is over there on that YouTube channel. So if you want a full understanding of how that ride is made, go check that out. So I know a lot of people are definitely theme park nerds, but also how do they do it nerds. I'm more of the, I don't want to know how the magician does the trick. I like the suspension of disbelief. So I know that they have the pods and they rotate and all that stuff. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on it, but if you do and you do nerd out about that stuff, check it out. Lacey, is that your cup of tea?
I do like to see how they make rides happen. This is suspiciously weird to release right now because this ride happened a while ago. Like, it's not a new ride.
5 years or something?
Yeah, 2019. I think this would have been cooler if it came out then, in tandem of when this ride launched. I feel, as someone that kind of stays up to date on theme park news, this is a little bit of a Disney response, Imagineering response to Epic Universe, which is opening soon. Universal's Epic Universe is having a bunch of different parks. They have like a How to Train Your Dragon, the Frankenstein Land, new Harry Potter World, etc. And they have been very transparent with their updates, with their ride behind the scenes stuff, uh, previews, etc., that I think they've forced Disney to kind of jump on that bandwagon and release
Mm.
how you said the sauce is made, like how things happen. Because up until now, I feel Disney has been very kind of quiet on how things are done. But then when another theme park steps in and then they're doing kind of a better job at things recently, they're forced to kind of step up to the plate.
Yeah.
It is cool regardless, and it's definitely an interesting technological advancement in rides, and Disney does know how to, make you feel like you're in a completely different location than a small pod on a wheel that turns around, but, it is just interesting that it's released now, especially with all this other Disney news that's come out recently of things getting canceled and things moving around and not doing this, not doing that, for them to release footage from a ride that came out years ago. It's just like, I don't know, it's weird. It's fine.
Yeah, go check it out if you're into that stuff. It's over there on the Walt Disney Imagineering YouTube channel. And then something I have just not had time to check out, the ILM official podcast, Lighter Darker, had John Knoll on, a legend. And he took the time to speak with them about his work on Skeleton Crew. So that is something I definitely want to check out because I absolutely love that show. And that
Mhm.
is something I'd be interested to hear his take on their approach to the visual effects of that fantastic little Star Wars show. So I will report back. But yeah, it's Lighter Darker. It's the official ILM podcast. So go look for that and check it out for their interview with John Knoll. Very
I
cool.
can't wait to listen to that. I'm
Yeah.
very pumped. Anything with John Knoll, like, I'm on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into our first segment of the day. We're dusting it off. First time in a while. It is One with the Force.
The Force is with me, and I'm one with the Force.
It's back on the show. For those of you tuning in lately or haven't been here for a while, welcome back. For those of you that are here every week, it hasn't been around for a while. So, One with the Force is a segment where we ask questions and you can only choose one answer. There's no this or that, in between, multiple choice. It's just, you got to pick one and stand by your choice. That's the other part that we enjoy here, is making sure you.
Mm-hmm.
So first up, we have name one character who we do not see in Rogue One that will survive Andor season 2. John, this one's tricky. I'm not gonna lie. I saw this and I was like, "This is tricky."
Yes. I believe that Cyril Karn will survive Andor season 2. That's my pick.
That is a good pick. That's a very good pick. I think I'm blanking on her name now. I looked it up earlier and I'm blanking on it. The blonde woman that is Mon Mothma's sister will survive. I wanna say her name is Vern. Is it not Vern? Is it
Vel?
Vern? Vel, thank you. I don't know why I thought it was Vern.
Hmm.
Someone's name is Vern. Anyway, Vel. I think she's gonna survive, because, uh, I think her girlfriend's gonna die, and it's gonna show
Oh.
her that, like, the risk is the sacrifice worth doing better for everybody else. I think that she needs to survive so that Mon Mothma doesn't lose every single person that she knows, and it also creates that push for Mon Mothma to see it through. Like, she's the one that's,
Mm-hmm.
like, reminding Mon Mothma, like, "Hey, you need to do this." Which, by the way, it was a
Yeah.
big surprise that they're sisters and related.
Are they? Did
I thought they
I
were.
I didn't think they were at all.
She went to visit her at her house.
Yeah,
Aren't
I
they
don't know.
sisters?
Her name is Vel Sartha, so I don't know.
Oh, I feel like they were related, or are they just friends?
I think maybe she
Mon
just worked with her.
Mothma sister? I'm Googling it right now. Okay. Mon Mothma's sister is Lydia. But Lydia's not her sister. I thought Lydia's her daughter. I'm going crazy. Vel definitely is related to Mon Mothma. She went to dinner at Mon Mothma's house. She's cousins with Mon Mothma. Oh my god. Cousins. So they are related. I'm
Cousins.
sorry. Not sister. Cousin.
Right.
Yeah, I think she'll survive. I need to rewatch Andor before we go into it. Oh my gosh.
I have plenty of thoughts that we'll get into later on things that may not go well for certain people based on what Tony Gilroy said, because reading it between the lines is what I do.
You're very good at that. Also, Tony Gilroy has nothing to hide. Like, he's like, this is it for me. So
Yeah.
I'm not holding anything back. All right. Next up, we have, if only one of these two characters could appear in a future live action Star Wars, which would you pick? The Stranger, aka Chimere from The Acolyte, or Jod Nawood from Skeleton Crew? I'm going to say this is a tough one because they're both excellent characters and probably the best characters to come out of these two series in the past year. While The Stranger was interesting, predictable, but interesting, some of the best fight scenes we've ever seen in Star Wars, a really good villain, I'm going to pick Jod. I think Jod, and played by Jude Law, was more interesting, had a crazy backstory that we don't know the whole story of, kind of rode the line of, is he good? Is he not good? Like, what has this guy seen in life? Who is he connected to? What kind of trouble can he cause? It just seemed like he was more plugged into the galaxy and plugged into the worlds and the world building of Star Wars than the Stranger, who's living in a cave by himself making soup with seemingly Plagueis around the corner, like taking naked baths in the ocean. Like, I don't know how much he's tuned into what's going on in the galaxy, whereas Jod, it's like everybody knew who he was. And I just find that more interesting. So I'm going to say Jod. What do you think, John?
It's Jod. Mainly just because, like, I know what happens to Chimere. Like, he dies because,
or he disappears.
The order of succession for Sith. No, he dies. I think because we know Palpatine's going to become Plagueis' apprentice, so it's not going to be him, and he's not going to have a happy ending. So with Jod, we don't know. It's sort of like it's still 20 years before the sequel trilogy, and he doesn't even have to interact with that part of the war. He can stay completely disconnected from all that stuff. So sky's the limit with what they could do with Jod, where Chimere, it's this very tight little funnel. We know exactly where he's headed, and it's not a good place. So I'm more intrigued by Jod. Put both characters on here because they're both great, like you said. But for me, it's Jod also. Yeah.
Yeah, the other way I was thinking about it too is just time frame wise. I find the time period between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens more interesting and more vast, and more things can happen in that time period than during that High Republic Force Phantom Menace point. Like, I'm just not interested in that time period of Star Wars either. Kind of over with the prequels, but that's just me. All right. And the last question is, Robert Downey Jr. is returning to play Doctor Doom in the MCU after playing Tony Stark Iron Man. In the spirit of that bold move, name one actor/actress who played a human in Star Wars that you would be cool seeing a cast as another human character in a future project. John, you go first.
So ironically, I had two that came to mind, and both are from The Acolyte. So Manny Jacinto is actually one of them. I think they could definitely bring him back in the future story as somebody else. Just give him a different haircut or something, or different facial hair. I don't know. And then the other one is Lee Jung Jae. I feel like both of those guys were so great, and the fact that it got canceled and like Master Soul got killed. I'm like, now we have zero chance of getting more Lee Jung-jae in Star Wars now. So and then I watch Squid Game 2, and he was even better in that than season 1. I'm like, man, that guy really could have done some great things in Star Wars, and it was just gone like that in a show that really didn't land for me. So Lee Jung-jae, like, bring him back as somebody else, or Manny Jacinto, one of those two, I think would be awesome to see again. So, but I'm gonna lean towards Lee Jung-jae over Manny just by a smidge. But Lee Jung-jae is my pick.
It's funny because I also picked Lee Jung-jae only because
What?
for Manny, at least, he was so kind of, I don't want to use the term iconic because I feel like that's such a played out word, but he was so memorable as his character of the stranger in Chimere that it would be hard for me to see him play another character. Whereas Lee Jung-jae, while he was great, he was awesome, it wouldn't be such a stretch to see him as someone else. Just because he didn't make, I feel, as such a big impact as the stranger with like the crazy fight scenes and, you know, the lack of clothes and like all that stuff that people have kind of latched onto. The romance, the tension, the craziness, the kind of how people want that character so much more and a continuation of that character compared to Lee Jung-jae's, that I could see them bringing back him for something else, and people would be like, okay, sure, that's fine, I'm
You
cool
really
with
pick the
that.
same person?
I don't mean to be lame, but like that's what I thought. I've been saying that forever because the Acolyte, to me, I just feel like wasted him.
That's wild. We have the same pick. Cool.
I
I
mean, who
guess it
else
me.
would you pick? I honestly
Uh,
couldn't think of anybody else.
yeah, I mean there's other ones for sure, but I just feel the shortchanged nature of his run in Star Wars and how recent it was still feels like a fresh wound. So that's where I steered. But I
Maybe
was like my
Jonas.
mind.
Jonas gets a human character role because he hasn't been a human yet.
So he wouldn't qualify for the question, unfortunately.
Oh, it has to be human to human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, never
Yeah.
mind then. I still think Jonas should get more roles, but
Yeah, I do too. But I like my mind went to people like, all right, who was in Star Wars in like a small role that they can get away with like just popping him in there somewhere. Even though the MCU's like, yeah, our biggest character, yeah, we're bringing that guy back for the biggest villain. I'm like, all right, Russo brothers.
well, because the multiverse stuff, they've kind of just like erased any semblance of you're
Well,
staying
let's
on this path.
not to get off Star Wars, but the Russo brothers expanded universe isn't as strong as their Marvel stuff. So
So far.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I like it. I like the picks. I like the answers. And is that it?
I think so.
All right. Shall we talk some Andor news?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
It's the resistance.
As president of the Tony Gilroy fan club, I'm here to tell you that this guy does not mince words. He is a little more protective this time, I think, than early on. But at the same time, he's sort of telling you what you expect. I don't think there's a lot of surprises that come out of Tony Gilroy. And for good reason. We know where the story ends. He literally told us where the show's going to end. So we know that part of it. And I know in their first, in the behind the scenes look, they had that line from Diego Luna saying like, you know, it's not what you expect or something along those lines. You know, what you expect isn't going to happen or, you know, something like that. But I think
Have no
this,
expectations, I think he said.
yeah, that might have been it.
It
Yeah,
was
have
like,
no
don't set any
expectations. Yeah.
expectations because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I checked out these two interviews. He did one with Collider, he did one with EW, and a bunch of things came out of that stood out to me, but the main focus was, you know, how does he transition these characters from season 1 to season 2, approaching the stories in these every 3 episodes is a year in the story. And some of the interesting things that I took away from it, if you want me to go first, I don't know, but
Yeah, go for it.
um, so one of the interesting things is the time covered. So we all knew since I think Anaheim, I believe, that each of these sections of episodes were going to cover a year counting down to Rogue One. So Andor season 1 covers just year 5, then the first 3 is 4, second 3 is 2, then 1, whatever. But besides the gaps in between the years, because there's going to be huge gaps in between like episode 3 and episode 4. And then there's going to be a huge time gap between episode 6 and 7. And that's going to continue because each of the 3 episodes, he said, is only going to cover 3 to 4 days. So it's going to be, he said it's a very intensified storytelling. And that's very Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars, most of what happens in the Star Wars movies occur on average over the course of a day or a few days, sometimes one day. So they're following suit with that. But with this story, it's interesting because it's going to be so intensified because we're getting 4 years of storytelling, and it's going to be like, boom, week 1, episodes 1, 2, and 3, or 13, 14, 15, however they're going to do the naming conventions. And then it's going to be like, all right, next week, 4, 5, and 6, and we're gonna like time travel. It's gonna be like 9 months later. We're gonna pick up pieces from threads left on the 3rd episode and like be like, whoa, what happened in these last 9 months here? Is there gonna be a crawl at the beginning catching us up? We don't know. But I like the fact that he said that because I didn't. That's the first I've heard of that. So I initially thought it was gonna be more of these 3 episodes are gonna cover a year. And then we're going to move over. And it's like, no, they're going to cover 3 to 4 days. Then there's going to be these gaps.
They're giving
And
you like events basically over the 4 years. Yeah.
So, and then the first thing that came to mind, of course, on the jaded side of things is like Disney Lucasfilm Publishing's like, yeah, we love gaps. We get to fill the gaps. So there's going to be a lot of gaps for Disney Lucasfilm Publishing to make books and comics and stuff like that. However, it does seem as though our speculation is confirmed that Tony Gilroy is going to do his own version of how K2SO and Cassian Andor meet. He speaks about K2SO at length, and he
calls
said
it a meet cute.
A meet cute, yeah, which is all right. Because I believe that's usually for people who get into romantic relationships.
It's rom-coms. I think he's playing.
Yeah, he's a little tongue in cheek. But he seemed to be a little nervous about this one. For a guy who exudes such confidence or a laissez-faire attitude towards intense fandom and stuff, like he doesn't seem flinched by any of that. On this one, when he was asked by Maggie, we know Maggie at Collider, she asked him about K2SO, and he said, yeah, the bar is high. I knew it just by delaying it off the first season. The controversy of that, nobody was happy about that. I don't think Disney was happy about that. I don't think the fans were happy about that, but there's a reason for it. A really, really good reason for it. It does not mean I definitely have to deliver on the meet cute, so we'll see how it goes. We're happy with what we have. But in these interviews, there's little pepperings of him feeling like hoping he got some things right, which is, nice to hear. But he also comes with a lot of conviction and confidence too. But
I feel it's very different from season 1 and or also Rogue One, where he was like, I'm coming in, I'm gutting this, making it better. And this time he's like, well, I think we did it. Yeah, we did it. We got it. Yep, it's there. Yep. I think there is an understanding that based on how fans have reacted to things, because people seem to forget Rogue One surprisingly came out in 2016. It feels like forever ago. And then Andor's 2 years ago. And I'm sure he knows the reaction to that was great, but it didn't have the big success that they were hoping for. So I think going into this season, he knows he's done quality work. We know he's done quality work, but there is this little bit of nervousness of like, how are people going to react? Because fans do have big expectations. And we know that as Star Wars fans, that more than anything else, people have these crazy high bars, so to speak, as he said, as Tony said, of what they think should happen with these characters, of how these
Yeah.
characters should be handled. And I don't think you could ever find the, I guess, ownership of these characters like Star Wars fans have, of like, I love Cassian, Cassian's my guy,
Hmm.
K2's my favorite character. Like, that doesn't happen very often. It happens sometimes, and I think it's developed off of Star Wars into other fandoms, but I think that Star Wars still remains probably the top one.
Yeah, Star Wars is definitely precious, and it means a lot to fans. And it's I've always held it at a different standard than other movies. So I agree with that. Um, he goes on to say other elements of this, but in terms of the K2 thing, I it doesn't I don't think it's gonna bother too many people because I don't know how big of a run that one shot comic went on. And I'm fine with them doing it, to make this story make more sense, to have them meet. But just hearing him talk about that, I think is important for him to address that and get that out there. But also, there is definitely a different tone. I agree with you. There's a different tone about Tony Gilroy now than thinking back to those interviews he did about his work on Rogue One, which was almost like it came across back then that he was too good for Star Wars and he was there to save them because they were a mess. Like he took bow shots at Star Wars. Like people don't forget that. Like because
He's saying he wasn't a fan. Yeah, he didn't really
he
care
probably
about
didn't
it.
think he was coming back. So he's like, I did that. I bailed them out. It was a mess. Like he did. Like go back and check out that interview he did. I forget where it was with, but it was between obviously Andor and Rogue One. I would say maybe a couple years after, probably 2018, something like that. But he really took some bow shots. And then you look at it now, and there's an ownership of it, and he's now a part of it. And I think some emotion trickled in beyond his steel exoskeleton and actually touched the heart of Tony Gilroy, which grew 3 sizes that day. So it's good to see that he does feel there's this sense of importance. He talks more about canonical things, but at the same time, he said, like, this is it for me. This was 10
He's
years of my
been
life.
living,
If you
yeah.
include Rogue One,
Yep.
it's time to move on. And he did say he is working on some other stuff. But
He's been
another
living in
part,
this world for so long. It's like hard not to hold it dear, hold it
yeah.
close.
A quick thing I don't want to spend a lot of time on because I feel like you and I have been talking about this a lot on here and also Nerdy and Nice. Not releasing the scripts for, he said he was going to do it for season 1. He didn't do it. Not releasing them confirmed for season 2. The reason being he doesn't want to feed AI.
Good for
He's like
him.
he's like
I
F
saw
those
that. Yeah.
robots. Yeah. Um So, except like the droids in Star Wars that we all love. But uh the Gorman massacre, a lot of people, not just me, had speculated that that has to happen in here because of the time frame. Not only is it happening, it's going to encompass 5 episodes of the 12. So it is. I thought it was going to be third act. So that was the third act, third series of episodes. So I thought it was going to be 7, 8, 9. But it sounds like it may be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and like really bleed over, unless it's in the middle of this thing. But it sounds like it's going to be the larger part of the conflict here that really pushes a lot of people who are on the fence over to the rebellion side of things for taking action. You're going to see a lot of innocent death. I think this is where we're going to see a lot of people that we know in this show losing people they care about. I am 100% convinced that Mon Mothma's daughter is going to die in season 2 of Andor because one,
Mm.
we never hear about this daughter later on with Mon Mothma. Is she a bad parent who just like left her daughter? No, because her daughter dies. I really think, I hope it doesn't happen at her wedding, like November Rain style, but it doesn't sound good that Mon Mothma sort of needs this, like from a writing standpoint, her character needs to be freed of everything that exists in her life now so that this
Very
character
Peter
can.
Parker, Uncle Ben, like death to push them onto their journey.
Sort of, yeah, but without having to worry about her daughter or anything else behind, she
Mhm.
can go off and just be the Mon Mothma we know. Put on her little bed sheet that she's going to wear for the rest of her life and then go off and help lead the rebellion. So
Continual sadness. Yeah.
yeah, and you said it before. I have it as well. I think Cinta is gonna die. I think that is because Tony Gilroy was alluding to Vel is gonna be with Mon Mothma a lot more in this season. And I think what I'm talking about, that push that people need, I think like you nailed it. I think Cinta is going to have a tragic death, and that's going to make Vel not only want to sneak around and help be a spy and be sort of like a militia member, she's going to want to do more. And we'll see where that takes her, whether that gets her killed or not, because we don't know about Vel beyond this. So
I think she's going to
yeah.
survive, but I think she's going to be the person that slaps, not physically, but figuratively, Mon Mothma to keep going. Like Mon Mothma's going to have that moment where she's like, I need to get out of here. I can't do this. What am I supposed to do here? And I feel like Vel's that person that's going to be like, no, they need you. You need to do this for your daughter, for your husband, for your people. Like you need to step up, because
Mhm.
she was that person in season 1 a lot, with everybody being like, shut up. We need to do this. This is bigger than you. Step aside.
Yeah.
So I could see her being that person for Mon Mothma, and also is comfortable enough with her because she is, as we've discovered again, her cousin. So she has that familiar, like, hey, I know what's best for you. I'm your family. And when you've
Yeah.
lost everybody else, it has even more weight to it than just her cousin telling her something.
Right. And like the last big part that I took away from these interviews is, I don't know if it was the Collider one or EW, I apologize, but essentially he was asked about the tragedies and should we get tissues. It was Collider. Should we bring tissues, or should we get tissues? And he said, if I'll be disappointed, if I don't make you cry, I'll be very unhappy. It was his it's a very Tony Gilroy thing to
If
say.
you don't cry, I cry. It's
Yeah.
basically what he said.
So but he said these tragedies that are happening are not, I'm paraphrasing and giving my own spin on it, but essentially reading between the lines of his answers about that, there will be death, there will be tragic death, but there will also be tragedy that is not necessarily just in death. And he used the term collateral damage. That put the final nail in the coffin for Mon Mothma's daughter for me. Using that term collateral damage. And also what people are going to go through in this series, and the permanent scars that they're gonna that they're gonna leave them with if they survive. Like people are gonna be permanently changed by the things that happen in this season if they do indeed survive. So whether that's Cassian, obviously Mon Mothma, Saw, all the people that we know go on. Because I don't think any of the main characters that are introduced here are going to survive. I don't think Bix is surviving. I don't think
Oh, no
Luthen's
way.
surviving. I think all those people are going to die, but serve as a symbol of a pocket of the rebellion. So it's going to be tragic. It's going to be awful. And for some of this, I think the collateral damage and watching people suffer while continuing on might even feel worse than seeing someone get killed. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
he says it's not just whether you live or die, it's the damage. It's the sacrifice you've made or the sacrifice you haven't made.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, But
So
really, I think the surprising and shocking emotional punch will come from the collateral damage, like you said, and the triumph of the people around them. So everyone's like, hooray, we did it. And it's like, at what cost? Is basically what he's saying.
yeah, so that brings me back to what I was saying either last week or the week before, where certain characters that end up becoming part of the partisans with Saw Gerrera witness the Gorman massacre and then join Saw Gerrera. And we see in the trailer, he's yelling at somebody, will you fight, blah, blah, blah. It's probably that character. So there's going to be a lot of people affected by the Gorman massacre, but I think the Gorman massacre is also going to be like one thing that's happening, and there's a lot of other things happening across the galaxy that's going to push people over that edge to say like, yeah, I don't like what's happening, but I don't want to get involved. It's like, nope, now I'm involved. And like that's sometimes what it takes. And we're going to get that. But then beyond that, um, this isn't a jigsaw puzzle to put together. Like, that's not what Andor is. It's a very tight bridge in between two very established story points with Andor Season 1 and Rogue One into A New Hope. We know how it ends. We've talked about that a million times. It's going to be Cassian showing up at the Ring of Kafrene. So it's going to be all the things that lead up to that. And we know, the discovery of the Death Star, that's going to be a part of it. Oh, planting all the seeds essentially to make Rogue One feel like an even better movie. This Andor is a great series, incredibly made, and I think, excuse me, little tickle in my throat. I'm not crying, I swear.
Not yet,
but-
anyway.
Right. But it really does serve as the prologue to Rogue One. Like it's establishing this character of Cassian Andor so that when we go and revisit Rogue One, we're like way more vested in this guy than we ever were when we were sitting in theaters in December of 2016. We know the pain this guy went through. We know the loss he's gone through, and we know what it took him to get to this point, in addition to all the people that helped him get to this point. Kino Loy, Luthen, his mother, like all the people, Brasso, Bix, like every person he encountered to help him realize who he needed to be. So then when you rewatch Rogue One, it's just way more like heavy on your heart watching what this guy goes through to his ultimate death, which ironically and tragically killed by a weapon that he was forced to help make. It's just absolutely tragic, and it's definitely a part of Star Wars that needed to be told. And I know it's not for everybody. I know people typically like Star Wars with more humor and stuff. Though I will say, I think with K2SO and maybe some other things they're going to do in this season, I think season 2 of Andor is going to surprise us with genuine comic relief in these like really intense, stressful times. And I think K2 will bring a lot of that. But I think Tony Gilroy was probably cognizant, as Disney probably was, like, hey, not a lot of people watch this show. Can you just take the level 2 of Star Warsiness and dial that up to like a 5 for us? And he's like, all right. So I think we may get some more creatures and stuff to help make it feel like Star Wars. But and K2 will bring a lot of humor. Other characters will maybe bring a little more humor, but ultimately it's going to be a pretty serious business.
I do think, as you were talking through, the events that are leading us up to Rogue One and the idea that Cassian made part of the Death Star, which ultimately kills him. I think when Tony Gilroy is saying it's, quote, it's the sacrifice you've made or the sacrifice you haven't made, I think we're going to see a point in this show where Cassian doesn't make the sacrifice, that doesn't take the step for that big moment to stop something. And the reason, because it will make it even more impactful in Rogue One when he steps up to Jyn Erso to say, I'm with you, let's go. And she goes, okay, we could die. And he goes, I don't care. Like, I feel like that moment of him sacrificing himself and knowing that they weren't going to come out of it. And then at the end where, they both know they're going to die and he's just kind of accepted it. He's not running from it like we see him in Andor, especially season 1. He's constantly running. He's not running in Rogue One. He's taking the idea of dying. He's accepting it. He's with Jyn. They kind of just sit down on the beach and wait for it to come. And when he says that line in this interview of like, it's the sacrifices you haven't made, I think we're going to see Cassian not make a sacrifice, and something's going to happen in accordance to that, which will then lead to him making the ultimate sacrifice in Rogue One, which will have that much more power to it of I'm willing to die for the cause, because he had to get there at some point that he's willing to die for it.
Yeah, I think that's where Luthen's going to come in big. I know a lot of people have been sort of speculating on, like, do we really trust this character? And I do.
I do
just
too.
think, Tony Gilroy it really was candid about Luthen, I think, more than anyone. He sort of said, like, imagine being a CEO of a startup, and that's who Luthen is. and then so many people get involved and the company just turns into something that you don't realize what it is, but you still believe in it, but you don't have your hands on the reins anymore. That's what Luthen is going to be going through in this season. So he's probably going to have just a lot of frustration with how fast the rebellion's growing while at the same time loving it, but not sure it's being handled the right way. It's probably like a very cowboy, very chaotic, and he likes being tactical and like almost like a
Having a
precision
plan.
spy. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but the one you as you were just talking about Cassian not making the sacrifice, at first I was like, no, well, of course, because he doesn't die. But that doesn't you don't have to die to make a sacrifice. But the line from the trailer when he's talking to Luthen and he goes, I'm thinking like a soldier, and he says, you need to think like a leader. That right there tells you exactly what Luthen's story is going to be for the rest of this series, because he chose Cassian essentially. He saw something in him, and he saw more in him than just another cog in the wheel for the rebellion. He saw something special in this guy. This guy can lead. This guy can rally people. I need this guy to stay alive, you know? And
Mhm.
I think that's what he's trying to get across to Cassian is, you know, yeah, your mother died, and her speech resonates throughout the the um the walls of Ferrix and the bricks of Ferrix, literally. And that will resonate forever with those people who experience that, and they'll be able to take that message out to everybody else. They go, you know, whether it's Brasso or Bix or whoever. But when it comes to Cassian, like sometimes not going that extra step as an individual, saying like, I need to do this, you know, I need to die. But it's like Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. The guy felt like he had to die because his dad died and his dad's dad died in war. It's like, no, because by him surviving, he impacted other people to do great things. And that's what Cassian can do here for Andor. And that's Luthen's arc throughout this whole thing is going to be to support the character growth of Cassian to completion, to the point where we see that guy in Rogue One be the guy we know he is. So I agree with you. He's not going to make the sacrifice, but it's going to come at the realization, like his second ultimate realization. His first realization, season 1, I need to join this rebellion. I realize that now. I believe in it. After being imprisoned and what I went through with Kino, I am all in. And now his second realization is I need to be a leader in this rebellion, not just a part of it. So I think those are the two big steps that Cassian's taking through season 1 and season 2 to become the guy we know we meet in Rogue One. So I think Luthen's going
Right,
to have that
'cause
big part, and then he's going to die. Luthen's going to die somehow, probably.
well, because Cassian in season 1 very much in the first half of Andor season 1 is basically reminiscent of a lot of people in the world that are, if it doesn't impact me, it's not my problem.
Right. Yep.
And until he gets swept up into it and gets thrown into jail and is realizing, "Oh, it's not just people in here that have done anything, it's just everybody's getting preyed on now." And so that realization's then driving what you're saying in the second season. I will say, you were talking about stuff that kinda stood out to you in this interview. Something that stood out to me at the beginning of the interview that we didn't really touch on, which is fine, but it's more of like a character, glimpse of Tony himself in the interview where he says, "I've said this before. I've been a student of history as an amateur, a dinner table historian all this time, and it's nothing but revolutions and uprisings and, quote, people being swept up into events that they weren't ready for, and people assuming heroic roles that they had never anticipated." Like, that is
Mhm.
literally Cassian Andor.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see in this second season, especially if there are gonna be any references to real life historical events within Star Wars, seeing that he's saying he's, you know, a very big student of history and how things kinda tend to repeat themselves. Um, so yeah, that's interesting to me,
Yeah,
but
it's
I'm
very
so
cool.
hyped for the show.
Yeah, I am too, and it's going to look gorgeous. It's just he said the building, like the construction and the building of for the Gorman massacre, it was just so expansive, and it's just
And the costumes too, yeah, he had
I
mentioned.
love that. Yeah, I love that they did all that, and there's a chance we may not ever see that again for Disney Plus Star Wars. So we have to really embrace and enjoy the beauty of what this show is going to be as well, in addition to the story, of course.
Mhm.
But more to come for sure. This is just scratching the surface. The marketing push is going to really kick into high gear now that we're getting to close to about a month away. But we'll wrap it up for now. And we do have a special edition of Ask the Resistance to get into.
I've been wondering, what are midi-chlorians?
Go ahead, John. Tell us about it.
Well, for the first time ever, we are taking Ask the Resistance questions today on today's episode, not forever, exclusively from our TRB patrons on our Discord server. Straight from the base, I literally just went in there this morning and said, hey, everybody, fire away some Star Wars questions at me. And you did, and you guys are the best. Seriously. So we're going to get to a bunch of those right now. If you haven't joined our Patreon yet, check it out. Discord servers there for commanders and up. But it's just $5 a month to support TRB. It goes such a long way. It means a great deal to us. So check out patreon.com/TRB podcasts. We're doing watch-alongs on there now. Last night after recording, we did a live spice run with Kendall Gilner, one of our spice runners. We got to chat with him. Some of you joined us live. We appreciate that very much. But so much going on over there from us. Mini episodes, a lot of awesome things. Go check it out. And we do stuff for Nerdy and Nice as well. So if you like stuff beyond Star Wars, double bonus. But it starts at $5 per month. The tiers increase your access, and it's a really great time, great community. But please, if you have been considering it, and you got your tax return, I don't know, check it out, patreon.com/TRB podcast. We really appreciate all the support. You have no idea what it means to the two of us, because it's just the two of us doing all this TRB stuff in addition to juggling real life, and you allow us to keep doing what we do here and grow. So thank you. So Lacey, do you want me to read
You do
the
it.
questions?
You got the
Okay.
questions. You do it.
Well, the first one came from Padawan Michael. How are you, Michael? He will be in Japan. We will see him there. And Michael asked, what are you looking forward to most at Star Wars Celebration this year? Lacey?
Probably panel-wise, Mandalorian and Grogu, I think is my number one panel.
Mm-hmm.
Community-wise, seeing people, of course, but seeing cosplay. I love seeing cosplay. John knows this. I make him stop so I can take pictures. I love it. Obsessed with it. Just like the fun moments that catch you off guard at Celebration, where you see like a group of people hanging out, coming down the escalator and stuff like that, like the little moments, or getting into an elevator with a stormtrooper and you get to like make fun videos with them really quick, like that. Those are the moments I love.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Definitely seeing a lot of the TRB people for me, seeing a lot of fellow podcast friends and stuff like that. Panel, no doubt about it. Mando and Grogu's number one, but you know, Andor stuff is going to be huge too, of course, and I'm sure they're going to do something big for that. But yeah, I mean, I get more homesick now than not, now that I have the kids and everything. So having the community there always makes me feel like a little more like I'm at home. Not to be cheesy about it, but it's absolutely true. So that part of it, and just getting on the show floor more, I'm really excited for, because I feel like the last few years we've been so busy with other things that we were doing there that I like didn't get too deep into the show floor much. Like it was kind of crazy. So I'm excited to just duck into like a booth and like look at 30-year-old action figures or something, like get lost for a few minutes, you know, that sort of stuff. And then of course, like just going to Japan, like outside of Celebration, like that wasn't part of the question, but that's obviously a part of it. Thank you, Michael. Next up, Darth Snips. Darth Snips said, there are so many things in Rebels, especially towards the last season, that could line up with Andor Season 2. Do you think that there will be any tie-ins between the shows? Character appearances or mentions, or will Tony Gilroy stay away from that? Well, I mean, from what Rebels tells us, we know that Mon Mothma delivers her speech from the ghost. And then I was sort of thinking, like, they already made CG characters from Rebels.
Zeb, yeah.
Zeb, yeah. And Chopper, and I'm sure they did real droids for Chopper too. But I think they could definitely do something. I don't know how big he wants to go with that, but he has to connect that, because this is not the same as Cassian meeting K2SO. Like, Rebels is a big deal. This speech he gives is a massive deal. So he has to make the continuity there connect. He can't just be like, oh, forget that. They're gonna be like, Dave Filoni's gonna be like, no, we're not gonna forget that.
That and Tony Gilroy did say in his interview with Maggie on Collider that he mentions like the Gorman Massacre is canonical. This happens in canon. This happens in canon. So it's
Her
about
leaving the
connecting.
Senate, yeah.
Yeah, it's about connecting those pieces and making it work while also building in what that means. I think he said like filling it in. So I agree with you, John. I think they're definitely gonna bring in easy tie-ins that also then lead into Ahsoka ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to answer your question, Darth Snips, I don't think Tony's going to stay away from it. I think he's fully in it. And I think with Dave's help and Lucasfilm's help, he's going to tell the story that they want. Also, a little side mention, they're now doing a Rebels podcast with Taylor Gray, who was on our show, and Vanessa Marshall, which is really cool.
That's amazing.
I'm excited to listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool.
Just made me think of it.
Yeah, I got to follow that one for sure. And I just have a feeling that I don't know how they're going to handle like the delivery of her speech in the show. I hope it's like right in there and we get all of it. But I could totally see people like them, not like, what do they call it when they like just sort of jump around and you hear people across the galaxy listening to it on different devices. You know what I mean? Like we'll hear
like
the speech.
Parallel cuts, yeah. I don't know though, because they gave Kino his full moment, so they might give her full moment.
Yeah, I was thinking
when he
of
was
Marva.
speaking over the prison.
Yeah,
Marva,
like
too, yeah.
Yeah, like her speech. But I could see like because it's such a galactic moment that you'll see like little people on certain planets that we know of, and they're just
That's
with like
easy Easter eggs too, cameos.
a little listening on a little tin can, and then some people listening on a big concourse, and just showing like it doesn't matter who you are, you're against what's going on. And like having that speech reverberate and echoing and people pumping their fists, like they could really make it this gigantically theatrical, heavy impact speech, and I hope they do. And I think tie-ins will come with that.
I could see that going off on like, this is like wild to even think. I could see it being broadcast over some type of radio at Luke's homestead and Owen going up and turning it off, or like Luke's listening to it and he turns it off. I could see that being an easy like little plug, like, hey, that's Luke Skywalker and he's being hidden from what's going on.
Yeah, they would probably film it, and Tony Gilroy would cut it because it's too like
too callbacky.
It's too nostalgic. Yeah,
yeah. But I could see like
no,
that
we
could be an
it.
easy moment.
Nobody's gonna ever see it because I burned it, but we filmed it and I saw it. Cry now. All right,
you see that though? Like the camera just goes to a radio and like you don't see Luke. It's like the back of his head, and then Owen Wilson's like, or Owen Wilson. Oh my god, Uncle Owen is like he just turns it off. Yeah, wow. Oh, my brain's met, but
he just slams down a glass of blue milk, and you know it's Owen or something. Yeah,
yeah. He's like, turn that racket off. Go to do your chores.
Yeah. All right, we have another one here from Joey Sack. What up, Joey? He said, in an ideal world, where would you want a future Star Wars celebration to be held?
Ooh, this is a good one. If we're talking US, I think what people liked the most was Orlando, because you can just kind of, it's more welcoming to different budgets for fans, whereas California is like very expensive. I feel like Orlando is a little bit more budget friendly, and you have the parks there, which makes sense for Disney. I also really loved Chicago. I really loved when we went to Chicago. I don't know. I kind of would want like a random city, like Denver, Colorado, or like, I don't know, something that's off the path of
Denver would be cool. That was where the original one was, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah, off the path of where a Disney park is, because that's kind of where they've been falling lately, because Disney's like, let's double dip in what people are spending money on. Internationally, I would love for it to go back to Germany, or I would love it to go to Paris.
Oh, interesting.
And those are selfish choices, because if it wasn't in Tokyo right now, I'd be like, I want it to go to Tokyo, which I believe I've said before.
Yeah. I think Joey additionally mentioned like New York would be cool, but
that would be so convenient.
It would be convenient, but like too close. Sometimes I like to get away a little bit.
Yeah.
But that would be very cool because, you know, they do New York Comic Con there. So like Repop would be no stranger to doing it there, I guess. But other place in the States, yeah, I didn't go to the Orlando one, so that'd be cool to do that if they brought that back around for the 50th or something. Internationally, maybe Montreal, if they let us in. And then Amsterdam, I think would be cool because we were in Amsterdam for like an hour, but we were only at the airport. We didn't get to
I
check
know,
it
we didn't
out.
get to check anything out,
And that would
yeah.
be really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked your picks too. So we'll see.
Well, Paris has Disneyland Paris, so they actually might Paris is actually pretty relevant in the scheme
True.
of things.
True.
Yeah.
All right, we have one more quick one here from Mike Rumore. There's the guy choosing the light side. I see you, buddy. Good man. He said, "How do you plan to pass the time as you make the long travel journey to Japan?" Oh. Secondly, will you and Lacey record some Patreon exclusive travel content while you're in transit? I don't want to speak for Lacey. Probably no on number 2 because I'm probably gonna look like a sack of potatoes sitting in my plane
Why?
seat.
No, we're totally doing content, Mike, of us, like, our travels, giving some updates.
On the
And
plane?
we'll probably give some type of longer video of, like, clips. You know, "Hey, we're at the airport. Hey, we're on the flight. Hey, we're still on the flight. We're still on the flight. Hey, we finally got here." You know, that's part of the fun is doing that. So, yeah, we'll definitely have something like that through our journey, whether John accepts it or not, because he's not gonna be the one filming it. I will be.
Well, how do you
As
know? Maybe I film it. Why not? See me on a phone, right?
I mean, you could, I just don't see you doing it.
Watch.
That's not
Ready?
like that's not an
Look.
insult, John. It's
Look, I'm Zack Snyder making movies.
Oh my God.
10K. I just invented it.
16
10K.
hours I have to sit across the aisle from this guy.
10K resolution.
My plan to pass the time during that flight is to read some books, sleep, probably run through itineraries because I'm a crazy person and make sure I have all the information I need to like that everything's locked in ticket wise and where we're going for things and etc. Checking in with family, make sure I'm okay for the 16 hours. And then actually, no joke, from our previous trip, I did plan to download Monopoly on my tablet so that John and I could play Monopoly together.
Oh, so it's not rigged because our flight back
You
from
were getting so mad. It was London. You were getting so
coming home
mad.
from London, right?
Both there and back. You were like, they give you free play, but you can't play with anybody. You can only play against computers. And John would like start off good, and then at one point you see it just turn.
Yeah.
And
Anytime you start doing good. Yeah. As COVID was starting to take over my body without me knowing it. But yeah, past the time, I don't know, Mike. I'm having a pretty big meltdown about it.
Get some books.
So, yeah, I guess. I'm hoping I could sleep as much as possible, but we'll see.
You're gonna sleep for 16 hours?
I'll do whatever I need to do to just get through that. And
We'll
then I have to
also
get
probably do prep work leading into it, like, you know, content ideas, social posts, etc.
I'm just trying to survive, Mike. That's what we're looking at here.
It's gonna
But
be
thank
great.
you. And thank you to everybody for all the questions. Appreciate that. We may do another one from the base again in the future, but typically we post those on Blue Sky. Probably going to fire up a nice, fun resistance transmissions next week. It's been a while since we did one of those. But thanks everybody for listening and watching and being a part of TRB with us. Let us know your thoughts on what Tony Gilroy had to say, what we had to say about what Tony Gilroy had to say. And I want your one with the Force picks. What were your picks? Did you like our choices? What would yours have been? And let's just keep the back and forth going because it's a good time. So we appreciate all the support. And a big special shout out goes out to the Movie Star Generals and Silver Screen Spice Runners. The Generals: Carmelo, John RISI, Jenna Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brennan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Colin Cormier, Stephen Garrow, Sachi, and Darth Snips. And the Spice Runners: David Probus, Neil Shah, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, THEFORTWORTHIAN, and Brian Smith. And our Spice Run with Kendall is on Patreon. So we got to hang out with Kendall for probably a little over a half hour or so, talking about Celebration, talking about how much he loves Star Wars. He is one of the nicest Star Wars fans, and we're honored that he's a part of our community, and always great to chat with the great Kendall. Lacey, where can people hit you up and hit us up on whatever other plugs do you want to toss out there for us?
Well, before I get to my own personal stuff, if you're feeling as exhausted as I am from daylight savings time and you need a little pick me up, you can head over to weirdbrothers.com and pick up some Resistance Brew, our coffee that we worked on, designed, came up with.
Yep.
It supports a small business that supports veterans and many other great causes, as well as supports us in the podcast. Just one of the ways that you can support what we're doing here outside of other things. And then you get coffee too, which is always great. So enjoy that. And then you can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and at It's Lacey Gilleran on TikTok. Like I said, I think last week I'm going to start posting more heading into Celebration. I know it's been a little light lately. Social media is a little crazy right now. And for my own mental health, sometimes I check out a little bit. But going into Celebration, I'm going to post past memories and tips and tricks going into one of my favorite things about Star Wars, which is our fan event.
Very good. For me, Johnny Hoey on Blue Sky, a little bit of X, my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies, and me and Lacey, Nerdy and Nice, coming at you Monday. We're going to talk about all the latest happenings in the things we love in TV, film, pop culture, outside of Star Wars, including some casting news for Spider-Man, some other comic book stories, what we're watching. I'm going to review The Substance. We're going to break down the reunion of Love is Blind. We're going to talk WWE. We do it all on Nerdy and Nice. So come hang out with us. Have a good time on Monday. It eases the burden of getting off of a weekend into a Monday morning. We promise. But that's it for us. We're going to get out of here. Thank you all so very much, and we'll see you next week with another episode right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.